girls, grab your beers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, so one Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.
Fasten your seatbelts.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And real quick housekeeping note, if you're watching us on YouTube or BitChute or Rumble or Odyssey, please hit that follow and subscribe button. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple, Google, whatever podcast platform you utilize, please hit that follow and subscribe button so we can continue bringing you the conversations that I'm about to bring you right now. Talking with a old veteran friend of mine, Marine Corps veteran, Nick Eckley. What's going on, Nick?
Not much, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah. So, well, I'll get into like how we met and stuff, briefly later on, but, usually when I have somebody on for the first time, I like to get a quick background. So you remember as a kid what you originally wanted to be when you grew up?
Yeah, I mean, I can go back pretty far when I wanted to be a fire truck, just because I wanted to spray my hose everywhere, and then I can remember when, I was an athlete growing up. I wanted to stay in that realm, whether it was playing or coaching or something. That was my dream, was to stay involved in sports.
Nice. And then, do you remember like when you knew you wanted to serve your country?
Yeah, I mean, I do. So would have been my sophomore year in high school. I had a buddy that he was a few years older than me. He graduated, joined the Marine Corps. He got killed in Iraq. His first tour, like real early on, and there was some of those thoughts, like when I was sitting in school when 9/11 happened. I'm young, and you saw it, and you're just like, wow, I got to do something. There's something I can do. And then my sporting route kind of started to tarnish a little bit. I was getting lazy, and then started getting in trouble and worrying about everything but doing what I was supposed to do. And I had a anger management counselor and judge asked me if I'd ever thought about joining the military. And I had up to that point, yes and no. It was like, yeah, that'd be cool, but like I can throw a baseball kind of hard, so I'd really like to explore that. And it, everything just kind of went down that path, and it was like, if I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go. Like I got a 96 on my ASVAB, and I went Marine Corps infantry, because smart choices, right?
Anger management, right?
Right, yeah.
And then, like, what would you say are some of the oddest things that you experienced during your time serving?
Man, honestly, it was really wild to see all these different people from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds, all over the country, kind of come together for the same purpose. And honestly, a lot of us had similar stories, decent athletes, try to explore this or that. We didn't have a ton of dudes that couldn't compete. It was a pretty high testosterone environment for the most part. Like we had our ones and twos here and there, but, it was not difficult to find a drinking buddy. It was not difficult to find someone to go and, shoot hoops with or throw a ball around or anything like that. So, but a lot of the weird things, like, man, deploying, like seeing the look on everyone's face and like you kind of chuckle internally, but in reality, you have that same look on your face when you're about to go over for the first time, and just being scared to death. Like, yeah, I knew our country was at war, but like, what is war? You know what I'm saying? Like, or what are we going to actually go and see? What are we actually going to go and do? And there was a psycho part of us that was like, yeah, this is going to be great. Like, we're going to get to actually do Marine Corps things and be a Marine and this and that. Until we found out what that was, we were like, ooh. Careful what you wish for, right? But I think the weirdest thing was just like the psychological aspect of it, and seeing everyone kind of unpack that in the same way, but in their own way.
Yeah, gotcha. And then, like, without breaking OPSEC, what would you say was like the worst place you served at?
Man, that's a list right there. I think the worst place that I was in would have been GITMO in Cuba. Like, that place sucked.
Wow. Yeah. It's not really the what is it, the Four Seasons or whatever, right?
No, yeah, you ain't lying, dude. It's either GITMO or Haiti. Both of those places were just, like, Afghanistan was bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was bad. But just something about that, I don't know. Cuba, it's either Cuba or Haiti. I think probably Cuba because I was there longer.
Gotcha. And then what would you say is one of the best places you served at?
Definitely Australia. Australia or Japan.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's definitely on my bucket list. I never made it out there, but I've yet to meet an ugly Australian woman. So,
bro, you won't. You want to, like, they keep them in, like, they keep the ugly ones hidden or something because, geez, oh man, that place is awesome.
Yeah. Nice. And then, like, what would you say is like one of your pet peeves since transitioning out of the military, like, or that you have like with civilians?
My biggest pet peeve is when I get called a soldier. Everyone, a soldier, you're a soldier. It's like, yeah, we ain't all soldiers, but I get like they're ignorant, they don't know, but it pisses me off big time.
Yeah, because it's like my dad was a World War II Marine, man, and he took that to his grave, man. He's like, once a Marine, always a Marine,
That's right. Yeah,
you earned that title, you know.
And that's what, dude, I try to tell people that too. It's like, I'm not saying that, there's a better branch. I was like, we all have our job to do and we all do it really well. We all have pride in it. We all have pride in our tradition and our history. But there is a small difference when, someone joins the Navy, they're a sailor, right? Or I guess a seaman recruit, but they're still a seaman, right? They're part of it. They get their uniform and they get to wear it right. You join the Army, you're a soldier. You join the Air Force, you're an airman right away. When you join the Marine Corps, you're a piece of shit until they let you not be that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't even wear our uniform properly. We don't get our name on it. We can't wear our cover right. We don't get to wear boots. Like, we're walking around in tennis shoes with our pants rolled out. We look like idiots for the first like month and a half we're in the Corps, and then we're treated like idiots for the next like year. But we at least get our EGA within that time and are called a Marine and things like that. So like that part of it, when someone like downgrades that to me, I'm like, ooh,
Yeah, man, it's a lot of pride and it took a lot to earn that,
For sure.
And then like, what is something that you always like carry with you from your time of service?
My boys, man. I try to live my life, to make it worth their sacrifice. We lost a lot of guys overseas, and even since we've come back, and we all give up something. I don't care if you served, one day deployed or you served, 6, 7, 8 tours. You give up your youth. You give up, a lot of things. So for me, that's something I always carry with me is, my pride and their sacrifice for me to have, the things that I have today.
Yeah, man, I agree that it's sometimes that's like one of my biggest pet peeves, with people that haven't got it, this entitlement that I run into a lot. That's why I try and instill that in my kids, like earn, nothing's given, everything's earned, and even people that that have never served, that consider themselves like disciplined and athletes or whatever, man, in their craft. It's like don't downgrade the sacrifice, because what
Right.
if you really truly know about giving everything up, like your youth, like you said, And then what is like one of the funniest stories you feel you can share from your time of service?
Man, there's a grip of them too. Oh, so it's actually from when we were in Cuba. So I don't think I'm gonna break any OPSEC on this, but Marines guard the Marine observation towers, right? Like I'm sure you've seen a few good men, and like I was one of those Marines that had to stand post, and we call each other mirrors, like we're just mirroring a Cuban guy. Well, Cuba is not the best country to live in, so CASs would come through. We call them, CAS. It's a Cuban asylum seeker. They would come and they would swim around the gate or jump the fence or something. And we had this dude in our platoon. I'm not gonna say his name. I'm not gonna dog him out or nothing. But we had a dude in our platoon who was always like, "Oh, I can speak Spanish, and my family's Hispanic, and blah blah blah." And he could, like he was saying, like he could outspeak Spanish. Like for some dudes who's like that was their primary language. Right. So like he was trying to get paid like an interpreter would get paid, knowing a second language. So we scoop up this CAS on it's like 2:00 in the morning. We had actually just came off a post, did a patrol. They were doing a drill during our sleep time for a CAS at another location. Then a CAS actually came through. So we had to go get him. And we scooped this dude up. Dude, he's in his underwear, all cut up from going through things. And obviously this dude speaks Spanish. So I had 2 Spanish speakers in my squad. And the one that would always say like, "Oh, I'm this and that," just kind of inflating himself. He is in the back of the Humvee talking to this dude. And my dude that's driving is Mexican and like Spanish was practically his primary language. And he's listening to them talk. And he's like, "Bro," and like the dude's translating it. And everything that he said didn't make any sense. And I'm like, maybe this dude's like super dehydrated. Like, I don't know how long he's been out here trying to get, across this fence, but everything he said, it makes sense. And I'm sitting there, I'm like trying to write this down. I'm like, "Bro, what are you talking about?" And my buddy turns around and he's just like, "Dude, you're an idiot. Like you haven't got a single word right. Like you don't know nothing about Spanish." And like, to me, it's like in the Marine Corps, unless you're in a translating like job, you're not allowed to speak another language other than English in uniform. Right. So, and I think that's why that dude was doing it, to like explore his culture and say like, "Oh, I can do this and that." And he couldn't. And he was trying to get paid for it, and he just botched it completely. And as soon as my dude turned around and started like MFing him about not being able to like say it right, we all just died, and we're all laughing. And this CAS is sitting there like, "Why are these dudes laughing at me?" You know what I mean? Because like you couldn't understand what we were saying in English. So it was just like multiple different fly on the wall scenarios, and we were all super sleep deprived and annoyed. And it was, I got back there, I got my butt chewed because of the way we did the drill. Like, we didn't have ammo when we went. Like, it was just a nightmare. So, because that drill turned into live, and we were like, "Oh shit!" Like, we weren't prepared for this at all. Like, we didn't have our boots. Like, I had one dude in a pair of slides, so I mean, we just got reamed when we got back. But we were all still laughing. So, I don't know if that's the funniest one, but it's definitely like the first one that popped in my head. That it was, and me and my buddy were talking about it a couple of days ago, and we were just dying, dude.
I mean, it's just the type of shit that like people back home were just like, "What?"
Right.
And like you said, it ended up becoming a live, and live scenario, and we could still like, I don't know, our dark humor can just like laugh at the most fucked up shit, because what else are we gonna do, man?
Right. And that's the thing. It's like we went out there. So when we started the drill, I went to the armor. I was like, "Hey, we need our ammo," because on GITMO, only MPs are allowed to walk around with loaded mags. So only way you can get a loaded mag is if you're going up on a tower or you're going to the fence line, right? So I went up there. I'm like, "Yo, dude, we need our mags," and he was taking his time. I'm like, "Dude, I'm gonna get my ass chewed if we don't get this done quickly. Like, our response time matters." I'm like, "It's a drill. Let's just get in the truck and go." And then we're like halfway out there, and they call in a cat. And I'm like, "Fuck." I mean, I was like, "Here we go, dude." So we get back, and I'm like, "Thank God this guy didn't have anything on him, and there wasn't Cubans, hunting them down actively." Like, I was just like, "Oh, dude, this could have been so bad."
And then, what is something that you'll always carry with you from your time of service?
So like I said, my buddies, you know, I mean, they're sacrificing everything. But also, like, I feel like that pride and that discipline is something that will never leave you. You know, it's weird now, like looking back. I mean, I've been out for 11 years and I look back and it feels like a lifetime ago. You know what I mean? But then, you know, I get to talking about it and you remember everything like it was yesterday. Everything just comes right back because they're just so ingrained in such a massive part of your life. But, you know, you feel like it was so long ago, but you still carry so much of it with you day to day.
Yeah, definitely. And then what would you say is like one of your greatest hopes for the country that you've been willing to give your life for?
Man, honestly, my biggest hope is that, you know, people just start to think, you know what I'm saying? Like when I was in, I came in under Bush and then served under Obama and then, you know, got out right before Trump, and seeing some of the stuff now and hearing some of the things that guys went through, not to get, you know, political or anything like that, but like people's vote has an impact. You know what I'm saying? Like those government shutdowns, like I was in the hospital when Obama shut down, and, you know, I had a kid at home. My wife was like, you're in the hospital, we're not going to get paid. Like you got hit by a bomb and I'm not going to get a paycheck from the government for this. You know what I'm saying? And like some people in my family didn't care about that impact. You know what I'm saying? So the thing that my greatest hope was that people just, you know, stop thinking about themselves. You know, like you said, entitlement. You know, these people are so entitled to so many things and have never, ever one time in their life had the desire to give up something to get those things. You know, and so if people could just truly look at the cost, right? Because I mean, there's days and, you know, there's been dark times in my life where I looked at it and I said, you know, I envied my buddies that got killed over there. I envied my buddies that killed themselves when we got back, because it's like, man, they don't got to deal with this anymore. You know, I got to take this, you know, to my grave, you know, however far out that is. And there's a level of jealousy in that. And I don't think that your average civilian understands that and understands our mindset. You know, I mean, we mutilate ourselves with drugs and alcohol and, you know, dysmorphing our bodies and just doing the craziest things to trying just to get through another minute sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And if people would start to truly earn some of the things that they feel entitled to, you know, it would have made the sacrifices worth it a little bit more.
Oh man, yeah, I agree 100%. You know, like, you know, well, and I'll go ahead and get to, like, we met through Wags for Warriors, a good organization here in the Cleveland area, and that provides service dogs to veterans, and you know, just the simple things like that, like. It's usually I found the most of my healing and my journey since transitioning out has been through veteran organizations, you know, other veterans doing for other veterans. You know, it's like a lot of, you know, it's disheartening, you know, to see like some of how the civilian side. I mean, I try and give a little bit because it's like they don't know ignorance or whatever, but, you know, it's sometimes it's just so disheartening. Like, dude, you don't know. And then when they talk down on like the benefits that we get, like, ooh, you know, like, what would you do to do, you know, fuck, man, you don't know, you know,
right. And that's
we've given up or what we're still dealing with. And you said something too that like really, I remember, like, it took me a long while, but I remember like having the stressors in the fight when I was going through my separation with my ex after my last deployment, and in front of my, you know, my daughters were like little at the time, and in front of them, I was just like, you know, saying, I wish I would have just died over there, you know, instead of come back to deal with this, you know. It's like, and it took years for me to, like, you know, not just like work on myself, but to kind of fix what my kids had to witness and stuff, you know. And but what do you do? What do you do to earn this stuff? You know, it just blows my. That's I can go on a whole nother rant
sure
there and stuff, but I want to kind of get into a little bit what you're dealing with now, but and maybe that I'm sure that ties into this question I normally ask veterans on here. What do you feel we can do to break the stigma of mental health and PTSD?
Man, so that's a big part of my job and what I do day to day. So that stigma. So it's actually funny. I was reading this article the other day about he's a Marine. He was talking about the ways that men cry, right, and the ways that men cry that it's accepted. And that part right there is what hit me, is the way that it's accepted, right? Because we all have feelings. We're human, you know. One of my lowest points after getting out was I had a therapist tell me, "Oh, you're a Marine, you can take it," right? And I'm like, "Yo, I'm a human." There's some ugly stuff that happened over there that I don't know how to unpack, right? Like, it's your job to help me unpack that. So I think that those stigmas alone, oh, well, you're a grunt and you're getting paid, you have this benefit and that benefit. It's like, well, first off, I earned those benefits. You know what I'm saying? Like, getting hit by an IED isn't the funnest thing in the world, right? Like, just full disclosure, I could have totally done without ever going through that in my life. And yeah, I understand, I signed a contract, I take accountability of that part. But if my recruiter would be like, "Hey, bro, you're going to go to some of these crappy places and a bomb's going to explode underneath you, and you're going to get a grip of surgeries, walk funny for the rest of your life, have PTSD, not really be able to sleep, and you're probably gonna have a couple suicide attempts and, you know, turn to drugs and alcohol to cope with it," I probably wouldn't have signed that contract. You know what I'm saying? Like, at that time, I would. Looking back, I wouldn't change anything about it now, because it makes me, you know, who I am today, the father I am, the husband I am, all those things. But the stigma there is the way that men cry, right? Like, a woman gets upset, she cries. She gets happy, she cries. She gets mad, she cries, right? And it's acceptable. It's like, oh, you know, she might be a little bit over emotional, but, you know, she's a woman, she can cry. Well, men, we get angry, right? And because that's the only acceptable emotion that we get from our peers is, oh, he's angry, you know, he's hard, don't mess with him or whatever. But I was sitting there crying tears, oh, he's soft, he's weak, he's this, right? So that's our society putting that on us. Like, oh, you know, if this dude's crying, like, he's just weak. And it's like, nah, dude, like, he's human, you know. And I think the biggest thing is talking about these things. Like, when, you know, guys would come home from World War I, World War II, Korea, you know, there's, oh, you're shell shocked, you know, and they didn't talk about it. Everyone just suffered in silence, you know.
Yeah.
And you see some of the things that these dudes took to their graves. Like, my grandfather, you know, World War II, he was in the Army Air Corps. You know, he was a tail gunner on a bomber. Like, that dude went through some stuff. He got, you know, shot down in enemy territory. His best friend that he grew up with was a POW. Like, I mean, just these dudes went through some wild stuff, you know, trench warfare, all that kind of crazy stuff. And came home, never said a word, right? I mean, they got, you know, celebrated when they came home. And then, you know, you flip it to Vietnam, where they got dumped on hard when they came home. And then when we came home from Iraq and Afghanistan, there was nothing. It was just, okay, go back to, you know, be home. Just do your life, be home, right? And we were supposed to just accept it for what it was, and not unpack it, not talk about it, not be able to do anything, just accept it. And it's like, you know, I see dudes all the time. Like, in my job, what I do, I talk to dudes all the time, and I can see them fighting tears. And I'm like, yo, bro, you could cry. Like, I ain't gonna judge you. You know what I mean? Like, you're going through it, you're dealing with it. I get it. I've been there. You know, these days of us crying alone in a corner, crying in a shower just to, you know, so people don't see it, man, let it out. Like, you know, people can call me whatever they want. I don't really care. You know, if I'm soft or I'm weak or whatever, don't bother me none whatsoever. And, you know, I got a son that I have to show him, you know, how to navigate the world and how people are going to, you know, look at him for certain things and stuff. But I also got to show him that's okay to feel, right? Because if he just fights it his whole time, he's going to grow up and be angry just like I am. And I don't want my kid to be angry. So that stigma is something that, you know, we all got to fight. You know, you see women all the time, oh, the man has to this, he has to this, he has to this, he has to this, you know, so they want to bring us back to our traditional, you know, role as a man. But most of these women aren't really being a traditional woman, you know, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, you know, you want me to run these traditions back, but, you know, you're going to go OFP, like, I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to be sexist or anything like that, but it's just kind of part of that falls into part of that stigma. And that's, you know, that's a fact. Like, you know, you look those things up, and the way that women look at men who show emotion, it's a very small percentage of them that care to see a man cry. And, you know, sometimes that's the only way that we know how to get that emotion out, because before we became a man, we were a child, and, you know, we all cried, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, like you said, you know, they're used to seeing us get angry, you know, which is like, you know, and that's like almost like accepted or like encouraged, you know, oh yeah, he's hard or whatever. But it's like, dude, it's a defense mechanism, man, you know, because, you know, we want to cry, but you think I want to patch up all these holes of drywall and stuff like that, you know, because I decided to get mad when I should have just been like, all right, I'm feeling it and let it,
right.
You know, most of my healing has, you know, really when I was able to find that place where I could be vulnerable, you know, when I could find that environment, when I knew I had solid people around me and it was all right to share, you know, and, like little kid, man, with the big booger bubbles and everything, dude. I don't care. It's just like I'm getting it out. Right. Get it out, because if I keep holding it in, it's just like, dude, the body keeps the score, man. It comes back, and you know, a lot of this chronic pain and everything else that we're holding on to, you know. And it's definitely, you know, I've probably done a lot more now, and like you mentioned earlier, you know, the drugs and alcohol. It's like I'm approaching 15 years sober now.
Good for you, man. That's awesome.
And that's been part of my healing is you know, because I was able to find other ways. You know, they say in the program that I'm in recovery that, you know, the good news is you'll start to feel again. The bad news is you'll start to feel again. You know. And but I'm learning how to process my emotions now more maturely, and it's definitely built stronger relationships with my daughters today. You know, that's been very healing for me as well. You know, the ones that I had scarred with those words and scared, you know, now the relationship I have with them today by continuing the work and the journey and the healing, it's a gift, dude. They've taught me how to be a man. My little girls are growing up to young women. They taught me also how to be a man, you know?
For sure.
And doing this podcast for me, this is therapy for me to be able to talk about these things when I have people on and just talk about real stuff, you know? So I wanted to get you on. Well, I'm glad you hit me up. And when I was reading through your stuff, like I want to talk more about the organization you're involved with now, but I wanted to touch back real quick on your time of service. Like I said, I don't want to talk too much about the shitty stuff, but you were there in Haiti during the fall of the embassy. And I'm just curious about like what that, you know, experience was like.
Dude, that was, you know, for a lot of our guys, you know, that I was with during that time, you know, we all went on from there and went to Afghanistan and, you know, did multiple tours after that too. But a lot of our guys, man, that's still the worst for them, especially our guys that we had in our unit that had kids. Dude, that was, I don't think I've ever seen anything. I still haven't fully unpacked Haiti, just because like the level of irrational thinking that you have to like, did I see that? Did I really see this going down? Like, dude, we would try to hand out, like we weren't even there for the humanitarian effort. We were there because the embassy and the prison fell, right? So I was on a fast team, and there was a MEU that came through that was doing the humanitarian part out at Port-au-Prince. And we were in town working through things like security wise. But you know, we saw kids struggling. I mean, dude, there's dead bodies all over the place. Like, I mean, it was insane. The smell was horrid. We would take
this was after the earthquakes or something, right?
Yeah, it was after the earthquake. Yeah, okay. In 2000, what was that? 2009, 2010, and so we would try to hand food to like kids, right? Like, you know, give them an MRE or some crackers or whatever. Dude, and people would come over and beat those kids to death and take that food, like right in the middle of the street. Like, I mean, it was the most horrific scenes that I've ever been a part of, right? And then like a few weeks into it, man, there's a giant protest. All these dudes, they're walking down. There's like 1,000 people walking down the street toward the embassy. They got an upside down American flag. They're carrying M1 Garands, and we're like, yo, dude, it's about to get real. Like, this is not what we thought we were coming here to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, we thought we were going to have to deal with some cleanup and, a little bit of security here and there, but not like this civil unrest of like, what are you here for? Let us in. We want what you've got. It was ludicrous, dude. So I remember they did a air sample when my squad was out on post, and all we had was like concert barrier. Like just concert fence. And so there really wasn't much between us and them. If they wanted to hit us, throw something at us, shoot us, there was nothing really protecting us. And we had dudes getting hit with stop signs, and it was crazy. But they did a air quality test, and it came up like 70-something% fecal matter in the air. And I'm like, bro, we're just breathing this in, dude. Like, this is horrible. But you look around, there's, people are just dropping trout, going in the street because they no longer have water. Most of these places didn't even have running water. Now the little they did have is gone, And so, it was, that was not a fun time.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories about a lot of the things that, there's so much involved with Haiti and especially with the kids, from what I heard. But to hear somebody that was actually there, man, that's crazy. So it was actually adult Haitians that were beat these kids up for whatever you gave them, right?
Yep. Yeah, man. And then like there was kids getting kidnapped and snatched up so that they could come to the embassy and get medical care. Like they just roll up with these like 2 or 3 kids, like, hey, these are mine, and they need help. And then, it's not like they have good record keeping over there, you know what I'm saying? And so like it was trying to decipher through that. And then like you end up finding out that, some of these people, those were their kids that did need help, and we're putting them in a waiting room. And like, dude, it was tough. Like we weren't anywhere near equipped to handle that. Like, I'm sure they're still in shambles, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just, that was a really rough environment to go to. And it sucked too. So like when I was in FAST, like, so we were on a 9-month deployment prior to that, came home from that. My wife and I got married. And in FAST, when you would come off of a deployment, you would go on Alpha 1 status, meaning like QRF type. So our unit was deployed anywhere in the world within 24 hours. So obviously us coming off a deployment, we were the most ready to go. We were just gone. So, I'm up in Ohio with me and my wife are getting married. Everything's cool. We're chilling. And we get a phone call. Hey, y'all got to get back to base. Like, we got to go. And we're like, man. So we just did 9 months gone. We're finally home. Everyone's kind of trying to chill. And then this pops off. So none of us were in the right headspace anyway, to be honest. It was over Christmas because I think the earthquake happened in like early January of 10. So, we're chilling, most of us were hammered, and trying to unpack, that 9 months that we just dealt with. And, now it's right back at it. And when we got there for that, dude, it was like, phew, buddy.
Wow. And, I wanted to ask about like, you had sent me something about, you spent some time at Camp Hope. Want to talk about that experience and like what led to that for you?
Yeah, man. So I got injured in 2011 in Afghanistan. I got hit by an IED. Took some injuries from it. Ended up getting medically retired because of those injuries. And at that time, it was not uncommon for them to pack you full of opiates and other narcotics and stuff to just kind of broom you on to the next person, right? So I came home to Ohio. Shortly after that, I got a home offered to us, to me and my family out in Houston, Texas. And, we took it because once you get injured in the military, they don't really care about you anymore. It's like, oh, you can't do your job, get out. And, you're waiting for your VA benefits to come through. Like, I was home awaiting orders, had a kid on the way, and I wasn't even getting VA or nothing. Like, you have that waiting period of when your benefits are going to hit. So I'm super broke, living with my mom. And, I got 2 kids, one's like fresh. And the only thing I can think of is how am I going to get my pills, right? And then once I get my pills, how do I enhance these pills, right? So I'm going to keep drinking. I'm going to keep getting, just self-medicating on top of the medication that, they're already giving me. And so we take the house out in Texas. By the time this all kind of comes through, my son's on the way, and he's born on December 3rd. December 5th, I go to Camp Hope. On December 4th is when my therapist told me, you're a Marine, you can take it. So in my not right mind of where I was at the time, I said, you know what, I'm gonna go kill her, right? Like I'm tired of her, beat me down like this. I'm sure she's doing it to other people. If I kill her, then, it's going to be, I'm going to help my buddies, right? So I'm sitting in the parking lot at the VA. I got my pistol in my lap, and I'm like, man, like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm losing my mind. I need to get some help. So I called the suicide hotline, and they put me on hold. I'm on hold for 27 minutes. And my plan at that time was I was going to go in and kill her, and I was going to kill myself. But I was like contemplating myself, like my morals kicked in, and I'm like, do I ruin her family too, or do I just ruin mine? Like what do I do here? So, and I had a Glock 33 in my lap, which is a 10 millimeter, which is a high pressure round. I mean, it will definitely do the trick, right? So 27 minutes on hold. I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of debating. Like, I'm just going to end it. I'm done. I put the gun in my mouth, pulled the trigger, didn't go off. That whole time I was, sitting there contemplating and going through all these things. My wife had called some of my buddies that I served with, and she's like, I don't know where he went. I don't know what he's doing. This was before, you could turn your location on and off. You know what I'm saying? Like, they had no clue where I was. So one of my buddies was like, maybe he went to the VA to get some help. Like, hopefully he went to the VA. Well, he pulls up, and I had a easily identifiable vehicle, big, stupid redneck pickup truck. And my buddy came over and did darn near rip the door off of my truck to get me out. And at this point, I'd already pulled the trigger and it didn't go off. And I'm just sobbing, dude. Like, beside myself. You talk about the kid with the boogers and everything. Like, that was me. And he gets me out of the truck. He's like, bro, you need help. Like, I'm going to take you somewhere. It's called Camp Hope. And I'm like, man, I don't want to go. Like, I just want to go home. I want to see my kids. He's like, nah, bro, you need some help. So I went to Camp Hope. It's in Houston, Texas. And at the time that I went, Camp Hope was more warrior groups, and now it's a full-on residential program for guys that are struggling, the way that I was. And we have a really good track record of saving dudes' lives and rebuilding families and getting guys sober and back on the right track. Now it's a 6 to 8 month program. Back when I went, it was warrior groups twice a week. And there'd be guys from all over the country staying in hotels just to go to these warrior groups, because it was a safe area for us to let that stuff out and cry and not get, no one passed any judgment, man. Like, it was crazy. And so, December 5th was my first warrior group, and I've been clean since then. It'll be 10 years, next month, which has been a godsend. It's given me the ability to be a father and a husband and a brother and a friend and all these things that, I long to be. That's all I really wanted. I just didn't know how. And, Camp Hope is it's just a different place, man. You can feel love there. You can feel God there. You can just feel it, man. It's I don't care what you believe in. You go to Camp Hope, you will feel the presence of Jesus Christ. Like, it just is what it is, man. And it's responsible for, truly bringing guys home. Like, and it's any era, any discharge, it doesn't matter, man. Like, it's a place that just cares. And, like, dude, I went to warrior groups for over a year, and I never got a bill. Like, there's no cost to the veteran. There's no cost to the family, nothing, bro. Like, they do it all out of the goodness of their heart for free.
Wow.
So, I mean, it saved my life. I strongly attribute my current successes today to my time there, learning some of the skills that I learned. We preach skills over pills. And I mean, dude, it works. Like, it's crazy. And, I left there, came back to Ohio to kind of work through some of my steps of the forgiveness and all of that. And some of it worked, some of it didn't. I still have some of those struggles with family members and things like that. And it was just kind of time for, me and my family to kind of start living our life and doing our thing. So we moved to Florida. And it's been awesome. Number one, the weather's great, so I'm not in so much pain. I don't deal with those unbearable, miserable winters anymore.
Jeez, I'm already feeling it up here.
Bro, yeah, dude. Like, it's funny. So, like, last week it was like rainy and like 70, and I was like, man, this sucks. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, I don't got to show first. like I can still move. It just is a little bit more gingerly, you know. So I was like, I shouldn't complain too much. I know there's some other people that are in places that aren't as lucky, you know.
Today it's rainy and like in the 30s.
Nah, man, I'm good. It is. It's like 82 and sunny here, bro.
Yeah, man. Trust me. I was waiting for my, both my girls are young women now, you know, grown and in college. And I was just waiting for that to make my move. But now it's just like, I'm scared of the economy and the housing market, you know,
Bro.
it's the hold up now, you know.
I tell you, dude, it's Florida didn't really participate in the pandemic, right? So
yeah,
there really wasn't a like nobody got anything at discount down here, right? Like it just stayed steady, like premium real estate. But man, there's a lot of really good benefits for veterans in the state of Florida. Like, dude, you don't pay property tax, you don't pay nothing for vehicle. Like there's some good benefits, dude. You know, my kids could go to any state school for free. You know, there's some really good things that Florida does for its veteran community that, you know, make that little bit of higher mortgage payment kind of work because you don't have to save for college as much. You don't have, you know what I'm saying? Like there's just a lot of little perks and benefits that you can kind of run away with. But yeah, man, it's Florida is.
You don't have to sell me too much, dude. Trust me.
Just that 82 and sunny did it, right?
Yeah. But man, you know, real quick before we go on to you know more about what you're doing now. So that, I mean, just to be clear, so the person that you wanted to go in and off and then off yourself was the therapist that said, "Oh, you're a Marine, you can handle it."
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many, you know, and that's through the VA, which, you know, that could be a whole nother episode. You know,
Oh, yeah.
it's like, it's
Yeah.
like I see the progress. There are some new things at play, like this whole health thing that they're pushing now. I'm all about, you know, there has been a lot of good that I've gotten, but it took forever, you know,
dude, and they still have so far to go.
Still so far to go. Yeah.
Oh.
Like you're saying, like, dude, like I said, most of my healing has been outside of the VA. And it's what people will call like woo woo, or the stuff that, you know, that
Right.
you know, it doesn't involve throwing pills at you. You know, it's you know, dude, I've done like, you know, isolation chambers. I've done, you know, the float tanks or whatever. I've done the hypnotherapy. I've done like, you know, so many different things on my journey. It was like Frank from WAGs had got me hip to higher ground out in Idaho, and I did that, and that was like the beginning of getting out in nature, you know, just the power of just getting out and the, you know, and I mean, I always got to give a shout out to Jen and Frank, man, because they were the beginning, you know, for me, and they pointed me in other directions. And it's like, you know, that little thing like having that dog, you know, you wouldn't think, you know, but at the beginning, dude, that, man, now my Brutus is 10 years old, man. I don't know how much longer I'm going to have him, but at least I'll get to say, man, thank you, because you helped get me to where I'm at today, you know?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, dude. They're awesome. You know, dude, they just, you know, they love care, bro, and the community they provide out there, dude, awesome. And it's funny too, because I actually just got a new puppy. His name's Brutus. He's a Shepherd Husky mix, man. And there's a place down here, you know, you can't recreate, you know, certain places, but they're pretty close to WAGs. Like they got a lot of, I mean, they're definitely bigger than WAGs. They've been running for a long time. She's got a huge facility and huge heart for it. I think the only big difference between it's K9 Partners for Patriots down. The lady that runs it isn't a veteran, but she brings so many other veterans in to help her run that she's kind of like hands off when it comes to the vets. Lets them run it, and it's a really good program. So I'll be getting Brutus trained over there once he's ready, and which works well for what I do too. You know, a lot of veterans come see me, so to have that over there to go up them, just a wagging tail on the lick. You know what I mean? When they're through some of the stuff they're going through, I think will be huge help for them too.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, is your what are you using right now to talk to me?
Just iMac, bro.
Your iMac?
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's not like a phone or anything dying, because it started kind of cutting out a little bit. I don't know if your connection or something was.
It's always possible.
All right. But in case, because I've had people I've talked to on their iPhones, and then their iPhones would die because they didn't plug it in or something. So I just want to make sure that you're good to go. And then so let's talk about what you're doing now with the what is it, the PTSD Foundation of America.
Yeah,
you're part of the Tampa chapter down there.
Yeah. So PTSD Foundation of America is actually the governing body over Camp Hope. Right. So, that's our flagship residential program that we send our high risk guys to. So I run all of Florida. I'm the general manager out here. A lot of things that we do in the community so Camp Hope's for male combat veterans only. In the community, it's, veterans, first responders, and their families. And we run a lot of warrior groups, kind of like the grassroots that first started that I went to back at Camp Hope. We, just build that safe dynamic for guys to talk and get that stuff off their chest and give them some skills. It's kind of like outpatient Camp Hope to a degree. We try to put guys together based on branch and era and things like that. But, we found too that a lot of times, a lot of these groups work better when it's, a mixed bag of guys, that are on, different various parts of their journey with PTSD. Some dudes are just stepping on that train to say, hey, I want some help. I need some help. And some dudes have been on it for 10, 15, 20 years and are doing okay and have some skills that they can pass on and just need a little bit of maintenance here and there. So, and then our family groups are huge too. We pride ourselves as an organization on taking care of the family as well. I can't help a veteran get to a point of healing if, his wife's unable to, start to accept that change and see that change and things like that. So, it's also nice too, man, when we can put some of the kids together. And, some of the things that are normal for my kids aren't normal for their friends. Like, hey, don't wake up my dad when he's sleeping. If you're going to touch his foot, don't, drop something in the house. You might see my dad dive over a couch or something, Those are things that, like, some of my kids' friends look at them like, what? But when they're around these other, vets kids, they're like, yeah, man, same with me, and they bond a little bit better. And, you can see that they all get to have that, like, that view of normalcy in that regard. And it's really nice because, sometimes, as parents, we lose sight of that, right? Like, yeah, it's our normal, but is it necessarily normal? My kids feel like it's normal until it's not, right? Until someone points it out and they're like, oh, wait a minute, like, it's been my whole life, And so it gives us all that opportunity to have those conversations with our kids. Also, like, our curriculum and our warrior groups and our family groups kind of correlates a little bit to help facilitate some of those conversations they can have at home about a healing process, about some goals, about, just some education and awareness. And, it's important for these guys to have that ability to say, hey, I do need some help. But 9 times out of 10, I don't get the veteran that comes up to me and says, hey, Nick, I need help, right? It's mom, it's grandma, it's sister, it's aunt, it's wife, it's, cousin, whatever. It's usually someone that's close to that veteran that says, hey, my guy's struggling. Like, he's been isolated for a long time. He's been using, he's, whatever. And, and we're right on the front lines, man. I go to your house, I'll pull you out, and, we meet you where you're at, right? And I'll meet you where you're at in terms of whatever, right? Like, if you need cryogenic therapy, I'm going to find you someone that's going to do cryogenic therapy for you, right? You need EMDR. We're going to find it, right? Out at Camp Hope, we do all those things. We have, partner with a lot of people. Same thing here in Florida. Everything that we do is at no cost to the veteran and their family. And, anywhere I send a guy to is at no cost as well, right? So, I got 2 guys sitting in nice rehab facilities right now that are waiting for a bed at Camp Hope. And dude, they're both sitting there on scholarship. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not paying a dime. They're not billing the VA on them. They're not reporting anything on them. You know, they want to stay anonymous. We'll keep them anonymous. No big deal, you know? And it's, you know, a lot of guys that we come in contact, you know, they're mad at God for, you know, some of the things that they went through and experienced. And we help work through that. You know, we'll meet you where you're at spiritually. We'll meet you where you're at financially. We'll meet you where you're at physically, emotionally, you name it. Right. So for me, and that's been huge for my healing too. Like I was doing good. I was kind of on cruise control. You know, I was a freight broker for a while. I ran my own construction and landscaping company for a while. And, you know, I was doing okay. Like I was, you know, still clean, still sober. But I wasn't really talking about anything. I was just kind of like, not necessarily strong and silent type, but more along the lines of, you know, if I trust you and we're hanging out, then, you know, maybe we'll have a conversation, but probably not. And then, you know, got a huge God shot back in March of this year. Some things fell through with, you know, where I was at as a freight broker. You know, nothing bad, just, you know, empty promises. You find out that, you know, these corporate companies don't care who you are. All they care about is what you bring to the table and how much money you make them. And I made this company a lot of money, and, you know, they kind of started backpedaling a little bit on some of the things that they said were going to happen. And, yeah, it affected me. I was like, man, like it really pushed me, you know, to a darker hole of, am I not worth that anymore? Right. Like I found my self-worth at Camp Hope, and, you know, I pride myself on running a business. I pride myself on taking care of employees. I pride myself on taking care of my customers. And then, you know, I was doing the same thing as a freight broker, just under another company. And it's like, you know, am I not worth this anymore? Right. So it started to really kind of peel me down. So when that was going down, I pulled up my computer at work and I went on Indeed and I saw PTSD Foundation of America, one-click apply. Right. So I'm like, helping veterans, right? Like I'm a vet. I could probably do that. So I one-click apply. Dude, I didn't even know that PTSD Foundation of America and Camp Hope were the same thing. When I left Camp Hope, I left. I was like, all right, I got my tools. I'm good. They saved me. Like, I'm going to go live my life now. And I never looked back. So I one-click apply. I go up to go tell my boss, I was like, hey, I'm going to take a couple of weeks, you know, go home, try and unpack some things and help my mom with some stuff. She had a stroke 2 years ago. She's doing okay for the most part, but, you know, still needs some love here and there. And she was moving. So I was like, I'm going to go move her, make sure she doesn't get taken advantage of, and, you know, everything's cool. So I'm up there. I get a phone call, and it's from PTSD Foundation of America. And I'm like, okay, cool. You know, I didn't even remember doing the one-click apply. Right. And so guys talking to me, he's like, hey, have you ever heard of Camp Hope? And I'm like, in Houston, Texas, Camp Hope? He was like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I've been to Camp Hope. And he was like, for real? And I was like, yeah. So we started, you know, kind of talking, and he was telling me about the job and what my role would be out here. And I'm like, yeah, dude, let's do it. You know, I mean, obviously working for a nonprofit, that's a pay cut, right? Like it's a heck of a pay cut from where I was. But, you know, me and my wife sat down, we went over everything. I was like, look, you know, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is God calling me to do something. And, you know, if I can save one, you know, I'm tired of burying my buddies. You know, I know we've all lost a ton of dudes to suicide and overdose. And, you know, I'm tired of burying them, man. Like I really am. So if I can be a small piece of that change, then, you know, it's at minimum the least I could do after my buddies gave up their lives for me to come back home, you know. So it's been a rough, you know, 8-9 months going. Florida is the most densely populated veteran state in our country. It's number 3 in population for veterans, but number 1 in suicides. So, you know, we definitely have our work cut out for us. I mean, everywhere you turn around, dude, there's a vet. There's, you know, almost 1.5 million veterans here in Florida. Like 1.2 million of them are combat vets. So it's the work is heavy, right? Like Texas is number 1 in vet population. California is number 2. You can fit like 5 Floridas in California, like 6 in Texas, right? You know what I'm saying? So you know, I'm not saying that my team out in Cali and my team out in Texas don't have their work cut out, because they do. But I think just that dense population of it, to where there are so many at one time needing so many things because they haven't had it for so long. Like the VA just can't keep up. So, I mean, it's been good that I'm busy, you know what I mean? But it's tough seeing the amount of dudes that really need a lot that, it's not being met for them.
Well, you were saying too that, a lot of times, they're not even asking, that pride is still, or maybe they've received that bad advice, like, oh, you're a Marine, you're a whatever, you can handle this, and
Right.
it's the family that usually is reaching out for them. But, you can only hold that ball under the water for so long before, it's going to pop out of the surface,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, man. That's the hard part too, dude, is like, there's only 7 VA hospitals in the whole state of Florida. Right. So, they're spread out pretty well. And there's a lot of areas that it's really hard for these dudes to get to a place to get some care, especially when they're trying to, and they're being told, oh, you can take it, or it's not that bad, or you needed this or that, whatever. Like, dude, the wait list right now for mental health just in the Tampa area is, dude, it's ludicrous. It's like 8-9 months to get an appointment, and it's like, dude, who can wait 8-9 months to tell somebody that they're not feeling good?
And is there like, I think the VA all around though, now they're starting to do more of that community care where you can seek care outside.
So the community care part out here, it's huge, but it's also, dude, like, if you've been to one mental health provider, you have been to one mental health provider. Like, they're not all created equal. Like, same with VAs, what I'm saying? Like, there's some good VAs, there's some horrible VAs, there's some good people in that VA, there's some horrible people in that VA. So it's, you're still trying to, work through these referrals and get somebody on the phone just to get that referral, man, is nothing to wait for 45 minutes for someone to tell you, yeah, we just got a referral in, and then you get to that person and they just sent 35 referrals to that, one doctor, and now they got a 2-3 month waiting list. You know what I mean? So it's, something that I know that they're working on. Like you said earlier, they're getting better, right? I don't know if they could have gotten much worse, but they're getting better, It's just, and the hard thing too, is there's a lot of, nonprofits out in the world too, that, they're not all created equal either. You know what I'm saying?
No,
I'm a little bit biased, with the organization I work for, but dude, we're 91+% on Charity Navigator. We, almost every cent that we pull in goes to saving a veteran's life. Like, our numbers are astronomically above the next halfway decent nonprofit out there for vets. Like, there is no comparison. And all bias aside, there's not another organization that does what we do, 6 to 8 months that you don't have to pay for a residential treatment. And even, if it takes you longer than 8 months, it takes you longer than 8 months. You're there for a year, 2 years, you got to come back to the program after, being home for 3 months, you come back, right? Like, and then the aftercare that we provide is something too that's unparalleled, man. Like, when you graduate Camp Hope, you need a job, dude, we're going to help you get a job. You need housing, we're going to help you get housing. You need, marriage counsel, whatever it is, like, we're right there to support you the whole way. So, unfortunately, because of how many vets there are out there that need help, there is a priority system. We do everything we can so that guys don't fall through the cracks. But at the same time, man, we can only help those who want help, right? Like, it's the hardest part telling a mom when she calls me. She's like, hey, my son is X, Y, Z. I'm like, okay, I've been there. I get it. Is he ready for help? She's like, no, he's not. I'm like, okay, well, I'll talk to him. Give me his info, give him my info. Dude, we've been walking through neighborhoods out here. We get guns pulled on us by vets that don't want us around. You know what I'm saying? That, guys are just nervous or paranoid. They're tired of hearing the same BS, of, oh, I help you, and then no one helps them. So it's like, that part of it's really tough, dude. Cause like, we wear that stuff on our sleeves. We wear the wins and losses right on our sleeves. And, we take it personal. I do want to help these dudes, right? Like, I got a new lease on life. I got, multiple second chances, and I'll be damned if I'm not going to make it count, but at the same time, like, I got to preserve myself too. When I go to a dude and I'm like, hey man, what do you need? And, I can see through a lot of BS too. If you're telling me I need, $1,000 and you can't produce me a bill on why you need $1,000, probably know what you're going to do with that. You know what I'm saying? And probably not going to help you get that $1,000, but we're going to talk about it. And, so it's really making sure that these guys know what help is there and getting them to a point where they're ready to accept it.
Yeah. Yeah. Where can like now the PTSD Foundation of America, it's not just in Florida. You say there's chapters in California and Texas, but is it all across the US?
Yeah, so we have physical locations in Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, Phoenix, Tampa, and Atlanta. And then we have a national navigation team that kind of covers in all those other places. We have a virtual chapter in California right now. But if you go to ptsdusa.org, you can click on the Get Help, and it'll say Find a Group. And a lot of chapters have virtual groups. I don't have a virtual group yet. We're probably going to launch one in January, February. It's just, manpower, trying to get budgets right and make sure we can do it and sustain it is something that, we're struggling with. I got a couple guys that should be starting here soon to help us in that regard. So once I get them on board and trained up and they're situated, we'll get a virtual group running for Florida too. But anyone from anywhere can get on those virtual groups. And, if you're in Iowa, Idaho, Ohio, New Mexico, wherever, and you need a flight to Camp Hope, we'll get you on.
Gotcha. And where can and I think you kind of touched on it a little bit with the website, but where can veterans apply and how do they qualify?
So to qualify for Camp Hope, like I said, you got to be a male combat veteran. Our version of combat is not, someone that was kicking indoors and slinging rounds to the enemy every day. Essentially, pretty much anyone that served in an area where they received hazard pay, we deem that a combat veteran. The only thing that's going to disqualify you if you're a male combat veteran is if you're a sex offender. Like I said, we pride ourselves on taking care of families. If part of this dude's healing process is me integrating his family back with him, and I can't get his kids in there because there's someone there that prevents that, we have to protect as much as we can and do all that we can, and that's just, we can refer those guys out to other organizations. It just creates a environment that, it impairs us to help some other guys. Right. So we can't really take that risk on it. Not that, those guys don't deserve help and things like that, but it's just, one of those tougher situations. But, too, on that same website at ptsdusa.org, go to Get Help. You can do a self-assessment on there. The closest GM or closest chapter to you is going to reach out to you if you do one of those, kind of talk through what your needs are. You can do a vetting questionnaire on there too. Basically saying, hey, I need some help, but I don't know where to get it or what to do. And we'll reach out to you. We also man our own crisis line. So unfortunately, I'm not the only guy out there that waited on a suicide hotline for 27 minutes or more. So we man our own crisis line, and that crisis line is 1-877-717-7873. You call that, tell them what's going on, tell them what you need. And again, we'll get you the right forms and get you on that. Usually our process is pretty quick. We are currently on a wait list at Camp Hope. It's just kind of that time of year with Veterans Day passing, and we only have so many beds. But we partner with a ton of other organizations that we can get you somewhere safe. So, if you're having thoughts of suicide or, you're just tired of using, you want to get out of the street, whatever it is, reach out to us. Just because we don't have a bed right this minute doesn't mean that we won't tomorrow or we won't in a week or, whatever the case is. So we encourage you guys to reach out to us. We'll put you in, and all the places we partner with, we vet the crap out of them. I'm not going to send you to some gladiator camp out there that's not going to be, conducive to your healing. There is only one Camp Hope right now. We're hoping to have more Camp Hopes throughout the country. But being a nonprofit, it's tough, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like your character of discharge won't keep you out. We work with guys with BCDs, OTH. We pull incarcerated vets in, work with the court systems and their probation. You name it, man. Like if you need help and there's a way we can help you, we're gonna do what we can to help you.
Man, that's great. And Nick, I really appreciate you, taking the time and talking with me and getting this information out there. You definitely brought up some of my own memories and, my journey and, just the gratitude that I have today for a lot of organizations like the ones that, the PTSD Foundation, that are there, that have helped me along the way on my journey and just getting the word out to help others out there. Before we get ready to wrap up, I want to ask you a couple of questions I normally ask people I have on here. But who are 3 people who've inspired you and you can credit for making you the person you are today?
First one would be my mom. She's a really strong woman. Been through a lot of things, had a rough childhood in a lot of ways. Self-made woman, she grinded to the top where she's at. She's been with UH hospitals up there for a long time. Helps, all those hospitals within that system kind of run and operate. And, has been a subject matter expert for a long time when it comes to credentialing and, getting doctors on board and in a position to help people. So she's definitely, a person that I aspire to be like. And, through all the things that she's been through, the kindness and the love that she continues to share is unmatched. And then second one would be my wife. She's my rock. She's, we've been together since 2009. She's with me through 3 deployments and all of my antics after the military and, through Camp Hope and through, career changes and moving and, just everything that I've had to endure and experience. She's been right there with me. She had a rough childhood with a lot of things, overcame a ton of things, sacrificed, her career. So she's a Marine too. When I got injured, she gave up her career to help me, while I was going through that portion. And, one IED strike killed both of our careers. And, she never even batted an eye. She was like, my family needs me. I'm here. Like, it is what it is, and just the perseverance that she has as a human and the strength that she helps me with even day to day, man. I mean, she's never judged me for showing emotion, never judged me for, talking about some things that are harder to talk about. Has always been an ear and never looked at me differently with some of the things that, I did in my past. So, and then the third person I'd probably say is my assistant manager here in Tampa. His name's Lewis. He, him and I served together. We were in Haiti together, went through a lot of things together, man. After we got out, so he stayed in, he re-enlisted. He did right around 10 years. I got retired just under 6 years. And, we were separated for a while. Life just kind of goes on. He was still in, I was out trying to navigate life and figure things out. And, but man, when we linked back up, dude, we started our own company together doing construction and, I got sick. Just a lot of the injuries that I had while I was in really took its toll on me doing, any type of physical labor and things like that. So he stood by me the whole time, dude, helped me through it. And now he's my assistant manager helping me do, the life-saving stuff we're trying to do and, continue the mission. And he would probably be, he's the true definition of a real friend, right? I can call him at 2:00 in the morning and be like, bro, I'm struggling. And, he'll be on his way over, we'll talk about it the whole time and vice versa. Right. So, he's got an awesome family. He will give you the shirt off his back. I mean, literally would give the shirt off his back. There's a lot of other people out there I could chalk up. I think a fourth one for me, I'm gonna, bend the rules a little bit and throw a fourth one. Would be my cousin James. He still lives up in Ohio too. But man, he's always been an ear for me. Always helped me with, just getting stuff off my chest, listening, not judging, and just always, unconditional love. Which cousins are our first friends, but man, he took it a next level, and it was like a brother as well. So those are the people that are most impactful in my life.
Wow, that's awesome. And you know what? When you're sharing all that about your wife, I really. that really touched me. And I just thought, man, that's Semper Fi right there, man.
Yeah, bro.
That's amazing, dude.
Honestly, dude, I'm lucky, bro, because I know there's a lot of women out there that would not deal with a million of what I put my wife through. So trust me, like, I get it.
Yeah, dude, that's a huge blessing, man. It's like I would, I know, like, what the stuff I went through after my deployment, my separation and stuff like that, and not to throw shade, because it's like I had a lot of my own, contributions, a ton of my own contributions to why that didn't work out. But I would remember going to like a lot of the gatherings, like, I think with WAGs and other ones, and just, seeing the guys that are struggling, and just, like, getting to know the guys like yourselves. But, to have that spouse there that was just in it, in the foxholes with you, basically,
Yeah.
And that's, I always was envious of that, never, but, my journey's my journey, and I've had to do a lot of, maybe I had some codependency issues I need to work out, and that's why I'm where I'm at, on my journey. But, I'm still, not getting any younger. So hopefully, mine's out there too.
For sure. It is, man. And that's the thing too. One of the things that I preach a lot is, if you're you can't be grateful if you're only grateful for some things. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be grateful for the bad too. Like some of the, bad relationships I have in my life still to this day. It's like, those bad relationships still make me who I am. It's a big part of the father I am, and the person I am. And, I got to be grateful for it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's still part of my makeup. If I wasn't grateful for it, then, how can I be grateful for all the good things that come because of who I am, and what I do. So I get you though, bro.
I agree, man. And that, that's kind of like where I'm at nowadays too, like, just embracing all the lessons, especially the hard ones, because, going through those at the moment, that suck, it sucked, man. But I look back now with gratitude, because, where I'm at today, because I went through that, and,
Sure.
I try not to let anybody take that from me. I mean, I've carried a lot of shame and guilt for too long that I didn't need to, and I've been able to, like, lay, at the cross, so to speak, and
Sure, man.
not carry anymore, but I love hearing it, dude. And then here's a happier thought. We talk a lot about our kids and how we were kids too, and it was all right to feel. But what was your favorite toy as a child?
Ooh, gotta be my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, bro. Gotta be.
Nice.
Gotta be.
Nice.
Yeah. Gotta be.
And then, we've mentioned, you shared a lot about your deployments and journey. Any message that you have for our brothers and sisters that are currently serving?
Yeah, man, stay frosty, right? You never know when it's going to change. But, when the guys that are still serving, or our brothers and sisters that are still out there, hooking and jabbing, you ain't fighting alone right now, right? Like, you're deploying with a grip of dudes and other service members that are going through the same things you're going through. When you come home, don't try and fight it alone either. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to, we ain't alone, right? We come home, we think we are, we isolate ourselves. But man, there's a lot of people out there that are struggling the same way that you are, that, would welcome a buddy. Misery loves company, but once misery has company, it's time to turn that into some harmony or some grace or something. So, just remember your roots. Your roots come in teamwork. A lot of us weren't out there for ourselves. I never one time stepped into a firefight and said, all right, what am I going to do today? What can I do? Or, what can I earn or anything like that? It was, I gotta be on my game for my dude on my left and my right. And, then we all come home and we don't put that dude to our left and our right no more. And that's on us. That's responsibility we have to take. But, stop trying to fight it alone, because there's a huge team out there that can support you. You know what I'm saying? So, the same way they look to their buddies now, when they're calling for fire, they're calling for, a medevac, they're calling for whatever they're calling for. Call when you get home too.
Yeah, definitely, man. Wow, good stuff, Nick. I really appreciate catching up with you, man. In fact, I'm probably gonna shoot you a line after to put some feelers out to Tampa. I do have some family down there.
Come on with it. Hey, I'm hiring.
All right, sounds good, man. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, yeah. And then, so one more time, real quick for any veterans out there that want to know more about the organization, where would you send them?
PTSDUSA.org, man. That'll have everything on there. They can always reach out to me too. They reach out to our crisis line and say, hey, I want to talk to that dude in Tampa. They'll get you linked up with me. I'm trying to transition over to my team getting called, so I'm not getting as many calls, so I ain't gonna air my cell phone. But that crisis line is gonna be 1-877-717-7873, and we'll get you squared away with whatever you need. Awesome,
Nick. Sounds good, man. And then before I let you go, one last favor. Whenever you have a veteran on, I like to get promo IDs for the show, but I have veterans usually introduce themselves at their last rate they held or rank that they held. Do you mind cutting a promo ID, just introducing yourself as that, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle?
Yeah, I got you, bro. So my name is Corporal Nicholas Eckley, United States Marine Corps Infantry 0311. I want to thank everyone for listening to today's Boondoggle podcast. Make sure you subscribe on whatever podcast stream you're out there watching it on. Hit it up on socials and give Bill any shout out you got for him.
Awesome. Nick, thanks a lot, brother, man. It was really good catching up. And yeah, I'm definitely going to shoot you a line. Well, if you got a couple minutes, I'll wrap up here and then we'll chat.
Yeah, man. Sounds good, bro.
All right.